There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your settings. We are controlling the podcast. We control the squealing and the screams. We can make your heart flutter, your eyes blur from tears, or sharpen your mind to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit back. We are in control of what you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your settings. You are about to experience the awe and mystery known as the female mind. You are now entering the Fangirl Zone.
Welcome to the Mud Horde Clan Cast on the Fangirl Zone. I'm Dave.
I'm Shawn Fangirl.
And I'm Steve, and today we're talking about Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian, titled The Marshal, which is Episode 1 of Season 2, written and directed by Jon Favreau.
I love Jon Favreau, and I just found out today, which everybody probably already knew, he was in Season 1 as one of the Mandalorians. I don't know if he physically played him, but he was at least the voice of one of them in Season 1. I did not know this.
Everybody puts themselves into their Star Trek properties. Everybody does it. I would do it too, but geez, they all do it.
It was just interesting, which we'll get to all the random stuff I found out. So how about some news? I am just going to say, first of all, that this is episodic. So, yes, it's one a week. And a lot of people are a little freaked out because they don't remember that happening.
I prefer it.
Yes.
I feel like it keeps the conversation going longer anyway about the show.
Exactly.
And really keeps it more in your head.
Yeah.
Because we binge watched some stuff and I was talking to somebody and I could not for the life of me remember the name of the show I watched. So I'm like, well, it must not have been that great.
Oh, man.
So I really like it this way. But anyway, show news. So in Season 2, the buzz that's been going around is that we're going to see some Clone War characters like, oh my gosh, and I'm always saying this name wrong. Ahsoka, I think Tano, who is going to be played by Rosario Dawson, and Bo-Katan, who's being played by Katie Sackhoff, who, if I understand correctly, also did the voice in the cartoon for her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
she gets to bring it to life now. I think that's kind of cool. We also have John.
Should be awesome.
Yes.
I just think that's like when you're the one who gets to actually bring it from like full circle. I think that's got to be like, I don't know. For me, it'd be mind blowing. But just side note, my husband's like, it really sucks if it's only a voice of somebody that's in there because I don't care if you can't tell that I'm that big green blob. I want to be the big green blob on set. We also have Jon Favreau saying the Mandalorian Season 3 is on schedule to film this year. What?
Is it this year?
Probably. Okay, when I say this year, I'm thinking this next 365 days. So.
Oh, okay. Good
because
for them. They
they're
must have set up a bubble.
They've probably already written it, and really interesting to see how that's going to go. So there were so many little things that I was questioning last night, which we will totally jump into. But seriously, there were things that I'm like, it literally kept me up because I finally got the chance to watch it last night. And it kept me up with these little things going, wait a second. But what about, yeah. So I had to talk some of it out earlier with my husband and look stuff up. So I should have just held on to everything, but I might have like really made everybody go crazy. So that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Dave so you can try to bring this back into normal. And like, I will just think about things before I blurt it out.
Well, we find that the Mandalorian is drawn to the outer room in search of others of his kind. I was talking to Steve in our other podcast on the Fangirl Zone, the Captain's Chair, and how Star Trek is like comfort food. So is Star Wars, I have to say. When they're heading out to the outer room and Tatooine, and you're like, I can sit back in my chair and go, thank goodness.
Yes.
Home sweet home.
Yeah, kept looking around for Luke's home.
Yeah, I know. Some of the contraptions you see sticking out of the sand, you're like, yep, recognize that.
Yep.
My initial reaction, oh gosh, Just like Star Trek Discovery, my first viewing, I was like, yeah, okay, that's not bad. But the second watch, I appreciated it a little bit more. I just seemed smooth. I think I expected too much. I mean, it's hard to stay away from the internet, and they're flooding it like, best episode ever. I'm like, okay, relax.
First episode, calm down.
Yeah, calm down. But I liked it. I thought it was a good episode. Surprises a few. The only thing that disappointed me was we didn't get into the big thunderous cliffhanger with the leftover last year. There's hardly any movement. And I'll have to agree with some of the people. They didn't give Baby Yoda enough to do. Yes. Didn't use the Force. Use the Force. Come on. There's plenty of opportunity to use the
freaking dragon. Are you kidding me?
I know. Make his teeth fall out.
I think there's reasons for that because, I mean, we see how he, in previous episodes, if he used too much, he like zonked out. So that may be something that's coming. Like maybe he's trying to build up. I don't know. I liked this episode. Like I said, I had a lot of questions like as things went by. I'm like, but what about, hold on. I was really excited and it was weird because I didn't catch it until the credits rolled, to be honest. The people who were in it that I knew, but I didn't realize that they were in the episode. So it was one of those things like, wait a second. And I understand that there's going to be a lot of that this season. And so that just kind of, it's really getting me excited for the season. And I was just telling my husband, I'm like, we should have just watched last season because of the questions I had, like right before this was going to come out. But yeah, I keep spoiling myself by seeing who's coming still.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode as well. I kind of liked that it was a standalone episode and you really didn't get to see a continuation of the season 1 finale just yet. Because, of course, he crashed his ship. It's going to take him a hot minute at least to get back on his feet. So, yeah, give us a little time on Tatooine. And
no, I don't like being teased. I don't like it, Steve. I don't like being teased. No, I hear you, buddy.
So, yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Well, it's certainly good to have it back. Thank God.
Oh my gosh. It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah,
and I know it has. But it's like, oh my gosh, why is this taking so long? I need more. And I didn't even look at what the runtime was, but I already know that it was longer than some of those 20-minute episodes that really worked your nerves.
53
So I'm
minutes.
hoping this season is longer just in general. It's not going to have any more 20 minutes because those just made me so freaking mad. It's like, what are you, 20 minutes?
I know.
I'm like, cheese and rice. I watch anime, and that's at least 23 to 24 minutes, okay? You can give me more. But I do understand what you guys are saying about some of the big reveals that happened at the end. I think that's some of the big things that are going to happen this season, and so I'm excited. I kind of feel like I'm trying to skirt around the issue and not say it, although we're in season 2, so we might as well say it.
Yeah.
So the black lightsaber that I need to know how, and I'm forgetting his name, Giancarlo Esposito, I forget his character's name offhand, how he got that, which reading up on that might come into play with I believe it was a female Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
See, I never read any of the expanded. I know the movies. I haven't even watched all the animated, which apparently I have to because a lot of this kind of going back and forth with that.
Yes, there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
You want to go that route.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to read all the books because at this point, I don't even know what's canon, what's not. But
Good.
I'm super excited. So I'd have to say, okay, because like I know we're going to have like top 3 moments. For me, the first one would have to be the Boba Fett armor, but then there was a ton of questions surrounding that. Tons of questions.
Is that your number 3 or your number 1? It's my number 3, right?
Yeah, number 3.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's so many questions surrounding it, and that's not even all of the armor.
No,
I'm
we
like,
saw the
wait a
boots and
minute.
cape last season with the gunslinger. So
Yeah.
all his equipment's kind of gotten scattered to the wind.
It made
I forgot about the boots and cape. See, I knew I should have watched season 1 again.
well, that could have been the Moff anyway, the Mobster. It could have been.
Right. And
Because
if
he wears
the
he
Jawas
wears the
got
cape.
a hold of it, then they no telling who they sold it to.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, that was definitely my number 3 as well was the not Boba Fett because as soon as you see him walking in the bar, it's like, no, that's not Boba Fett.
You look skinny.
Yeah. And a
Well,
whole
that
lot
could
taller.
happen. But
I
yeah, it
mean-
was the whole like swagger, I guess, even was, I'm like, wait a second. That's weird.
And of
What do
course,
you
they
think?
just pumped us up for it when, of course, Gore tips off Mando that there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. And of course, everybody goes, ooh, are we going to get Boba Fett? Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, there's been so many theories. Like, so many theories.
Yeah.
Which, after we all say our third pick, then I will ask you guys the question that's like just making me crazy.
All right, my number 3 moment was when the Tuscans arrive in town. I just like the way they come riding in on the Banthas.
Yes.
And it has such a great musical score. And it was kind of continued when they decided to leave the town, too, and they were following that sand dune line through the Dune Sea.
That was such an awesome visual.
It was awesome. It reminded me of Lawrence of Arabia, and that score really helped it out, too. I like that rising score. And, of course,
I see that.
Yeah.
I
That
could
was my number 3. Tuscans come to town.
That's another episode.
Yes.
Just sit down, chill out, cook some weird meat. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So here's my question for you guys. Wait, I kind of feel, I don't know, maybe I should wait till the end, but.
Yeah, wait till the end.
Oh, so many questions. Okay.
Okay,
What's your number 2?
Sean?
Honestly, the visuals, because the little things that I'm assuming those little weird things were womp rats. But even when they were kind of pulling back and you seen the Dune Sea, you seen a bleached out skull and antlers of a banta. And it's like the little things that you would not necessarily think would make a difference, but I feel like it really did. So that would be my number 2. I know it's not even like a moment, but that caught me off guard, like those little things, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it was.
Apparently, some of that stuff is still left in the Tunisian desert from when they shot the original Star Wars.
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The skeleton of the dragon
Yep.
in episode 4 is still in the desert.
No way.
It's
That's awesome.
What
It is awesome.
people going to think
In the
200
future.
years in the future when that shows up on a satellite picture?
That's
is that?
yeah, archaeologists way in the
Yes,
future.
dig it up.
You're gonna be like, what? I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, my number 2 moment was as they're heading to the lair and Vanth hears something and he stops. And of course, so does Mando. And you see these lizard dogs come out and there's a ton of them. And you go, oh crap.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to the lair and you may not make it. And Mando just gets off his speeder and just walks right up to him and starts talking something. And
I know. Yeah, good boy. Good boy.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Who's that little boy?
rubbing his throat.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect. And Vance just standing there with his mouth on the
Yeah.
stand. What the hell?
My number 2 moment was I volunteered your village.
Yes.
I was like, what?
That's when just after the confab around the campfire, I believe, not too long after it, Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Oliphant, says, "Well, what'd you tell him? How'd you convince him?" And he said that he put more little dots down there. It turns out to be the scale around the dragon. And he's like, "Oh wow, reinforcements! Where'd you get that?" And Mando turns to him and goes, "I volunteered your village." And Cobb Vanth's eyes bug out. You did what?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Like, well, what did you do? Yeah.
My village?
And I still love the whole, that's not to scale. They're like, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
I know. Yes, it is. And it is.
Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Number 1. I don't know. There were so many moments that I'm like, "Urgh." I'm going to have to say when, and I'm going to screw up his name, Tamur Morrison, the guy who played Boba and Jango in episode, was it 1, 2, 3? When he was shown at the end. Because, well, I'm sorry, he didn't play Boba, he played Jango. Sorry.
Yeah.
And every clone thereafter.
Yeah.
When he was at the end, that has to be my number 1 because, like I said, there's so many questions around it, and I will wait. I made sure I have this all formed in my head to ask this question because I fell down a rabbit hole online, and I think you guys, might actually question your thoughts after I ask this.
All right. Well, my number 1 is I have an idea. And just
That reminds me. That reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie.
Exactly. Because if things are not going well and Mando notices one of the bantas that's got a whole stockpile of bombs on it and has Bant get the dragon coming towards him and let dragon eat him and the banta together.
What?
I know. I was like, what? Wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he's not dead. We know that. But it's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he
Come on,
would've
man.
used his jetpack and flew out just at the last second. No, he waited, made sure it got deep inside the dragon, and then waited for it to come back out of the sand, and it opens its mouth, and he goes jetpacking out, detonates.
My
I can
hero.
see, the off chance that if he flew away, like it would try to follow him as opposed to eat the banta.
Right. Yeah, because it did. It was awesome that this thing was able to tunnel under and everything.
Yeah, and then out
Showing
through
up
the
in
rock.
bags and then
Yeah, I know.
behind him, and that
coming
was
out of the rocks. I'm like, oh damn, rocks too.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking, they'll be safe on the rocks. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Exactly.
If you're on Dune and confronted with sandworms, you go to the rocks. They don't come out of the rocks.
Exactly. I'm like, wow, they are way bigger than the sandworms.
Yeah, even on Beetlejuice, sandworms just in the sand. All right, my number one. Mine happens in the bar. And it's when the Marshal gets on the scene and he says, join me for a drink. I'm like, and of course, the first thing that comes to my head, he goes, well, how can you drink unless you're taking your helmet off?
Exactly.
And he takes his helmet off. And I'm like, I was WTF. And the reaction from Mando, like he just starts. He's walking towards the table and the guy takes his helmet off. He's like stunned. He's stunned as I was. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
You don't take the helmet off.
Apparently, he didn't know Boba Fett before and couldn't tell if the armor just was that beaten up or if he got it from another Mandalorian or something, because all of us knew it wasn't.
Yeah,
Boba.
that stunned Mando. That stunned him.
Oh, absolutely.
I noticed the bullet hole like in the helmet too.
I thought it was the tooth hole.
Oh, maybe. I didn't think about that. It's like a bullet hole. I didn't think they had like regular bullets. Oh my gosh.
Any honorable mentions, Shawn?
I have to just say Timothy Oliphant being in this because it was
He's awesome.
just a little bit of comedy, but like I said, it wasn't that like menacing behavior, but you knew that he probably can hold his own.
Right.
So I liked the fact that they had that, but he was smart enough to be like, are you sure you want to do this in front of the kid? It's like, are you sure?
I know. He's
Like,
seen it. He's seen worse.
Might not be good. It's like trying to go, I'm super screwed if he decides to do this right now. So I liked that whole thing that he kind of gave out. And that moment where he didn't quite look at the camera, but it was almost a fourth wall break when he's like, when we're sitting here and they blew up the Death Star, the second one.
Yeah.
When he says this, the second one, it's like, I felt, and I know it's just me, that he kind of like that turn and, wink towards the camera.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah, his character is the classic old West lawman type who actually first appeared in the 2015 in-canon novel Aftermath. So
Okay.
his character is definitely canon.
Yep.
My honorable mentions have to go out to the child. He may not have done a lot, but his reactions were priceless.
Yeah.
By the boxing ring or the fighting ring, that was the best reaction.
Yes.
Like, oh, let me close this. I'm out.
Yeah, and of course, crawling into the spittoon when the dragon started coming into town.
I'm just like, ew, I hope it was clean. That's all I kept thinking. What about you, Dave? What do you do? You have an honorable mention?
I got a few. First of all, I like the recap. Right at the beginning there, I got all excited. Like, yeah, baby, let's go. I also love seeing Amy Sedaris return as Pelimato. I'm like, oh, that's and of course she takes a liking to that little womp rat, a green little womp rat.
That was making me crazy. It's like I knew her face, but I couldn't figure it out. I had to look her up. I'm like, oh, okay, Strangers with Candy.
They brought her back from last year right away, first episode.
Right.
Yes, but it was like, why do I know her other than from the episodes? It's like Strangers with Candy. It took me a minute to find what she was in, why I originally knew her.
Yeah, I did I'll give our honorable mention to Mando's escape from the dragon as he slides to a hole and he skids to it on the sand. I'm like, oh, come on, we already know you're cool.
Okay, now I have to say, because I had messaged this to Steve before when he finally finished season 1. I'm like, I love, and this is really weird saying this out loud. I love how you know his expressions even though you can't ever see them. I'm like, it's like so much expression and emotion, but he is so, you can't see his face, and he's so monotone with everything.
Right.
And Steve's like, what are you talking about? You can't see anything. I don't know. Like, I feel like it was really expressive with just like a slight tilt or, kind of.
Yeah. Well, that's why I liked my number one moment when he just shuddered.
Yeah.
When Marshal was taking the helmet off. Wow, what are you doing?
Yeah, that did tear him up big time.
Yeah, give me the armor. Take it off now.
That brings me to one of the rabbit holes that I fell down for a while this morning. So I don't know. Let me just, I'm going to throw my candy in the lobby, basically spill the candy in the lobby like I've been told not to do in some training. But my questions to you gentlemen and our people out there in listener land.
People of Earth.
On this globe and beyond. So was that truly Boba Fett at the end? Or, as I found online, could that have been Cody? Oh my gosh. Was the mentioning of the Force by our mechanic when she says, oh, think the Force, was that kind of something that people just say, but they don't really know what it is, or they don't really believe? Kind of like when people are like, you even have like non-religious people like, oh, thank God, when they say something like that. These little things that kind of kept me up all night. And there's finally the big one that was driving me up the wall is still carried over from season 1. How do they not really know about the Jedi? And like that rabbit hole goes on and on. Like I kept clicking links. I'm like, I need to stop. I'll never make it on.
One of the things I constantly hear is because they're on the Outer Rim.
But Jabba knew about Jedi Masters. If you remember when Return of the Jedi, when Luke goes to his palace and he's like, tell Jabba.
Yeah, but he's a renowned criminal that always runs afoul of whatever the law is. The common people are like, yeah, whatever. They're just digging through sand and dirt.
Okay, but even Anakin knew back in episode 1, and he knew by the lightsaber. That's why it was confusing me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, Luke knew. Luke wanted to go to the academy. He didn't want to be a Jedi, didn't he? He wanted to go to the academy.
I thought it was like a rebel academy or something.
He wanted to learn to. Did Luke want to do that? I know his friend did. They wanted to be pilot, like TIE pilots.
He wanted to get off the planet.
Yeah, he wanted to get off the planet.
I can't exactly blame him for that.
I didn't even recognize Tamara Morrison. I didn't recognize him. I know everyone was going berserk, and I couldn't wait to see them. Like, yeah, okay, who's that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't even catch until the credits John Leguizamo.
Right.
Yeah, really? You didn't know that was him?
No, I did not hear it in the voice at all. Now I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it. Now I'll probably be like, oh, yeah.
First of all, I bet he would give his left finger to be on that show. But of course, I didn't recognize him either. My God, he's only got one eye, and he looks like. That was awesome. But I would love to do something like that too. I don't care how much makeup you put on me. Put me on the show.
Yeah. The voice definitely was something I was going, I know that voice. Where do I know him from?
I tend to pick all that up on second and third watches. And I only did it one time on this, so that may be why. And like I said, going down the rabbit hole, Sam Witwer was in it. He was one of the people in the town. He does a voice, I believe, in the video game. One of the video games. So I was like, oh, wow. See, he wasn't even credited. Somebody spotted him. And it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah. How did they do that?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Is it really Boba or could it be Cody or one of the other clones?
I got a guy, Boba Talks. He's from the UK. He's got a YouTube channel. He thinks it's someone called Rex from the Old Republic.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell since they were all clones. It could be absolutely anybody.
Yeah. Well, I got a feeling it's Boba Fett, but I didn't even know who this Rex guy is. I rely on the network, to fill me in on all these things. Thank goodness.
Yeah. It makes too much sense to have Morrison show up that has been a Fett. So, yeah, it'll be a shocker if he's not Boba Fett.
I know. It would be even more of a shock if he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
It'd be a disappointment.
So the whole thing with not knowing the Force, too, and the Jedis, like reading that whole crazy thread that I found, because don't go on Reddit unless you got hours to spend, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I had found that they were saying the armorer who had given the information to our Mando, that she is supposed to be roughly the same age. So she might have known some information, but like all the information is really foggy for her. And that the Empire had spent, 25 plus years trying to wipe out the Jedi Order and all information. So everything she's heard, it was like, well, I heard from. So it was like all passed down. So I kind of get it, but it's like, I don't know. It seemed like it was such a big deal that a whole lot more people would know. Even if he was a little kid when they were still around. Don't you guys think more people would know what the heck the Jedi are? Not some ancient, wizards.
Mm-hmm. A race of ancient wizards.
Yes.
I didn't tell you my, I don't know if you're aware of my tinfoil hat theory. But I'm saying by the end of this season, Mando will volunteer to become the next. He'll start training to become a Jedi warrior, at least. I mean, in their history, if you look back in history, speaking of Reddit, there has been Mandalorians that they fought each other, but then a Mandalorian went over to the Jedi side and trained to be a Jedi warrior. And I think that's what the storyline is taking Mando. I think he's going to join the Jedi eventually.
Right. Yeah, because there's, at this point in time, almost all the Mandalorians have been wiped out.
Yeah.
See, that was the other thing I found. Again, rabbit holes. That the clan that Armando is with is like super strict, like following the ancient ways. And that's why they don't take off their helmet.
Right.
Whereas what I found was some other clans that are more family-like, they remove their helmet. And so it's not so weird. But I guess it's like a super strict religion. Like, what do you mean you don't fast all day on the third Tuesday of the month? It's kind of like...
they did make a real quick mention of the warrior clan. Could have been in the recap when they showed young Mando being rescued by a Mandalorian, and he said, I joined the warrior clan. So also, you don't have to be a warrior to be a Mandalorian.
Watch, that's what's supposed to save him.
I wanted to bring this up. The name of the Mandalorian that was a Jedi was Tare Vizsla. He was a Force-sensitive human male, and as a child, he was eventually inducted into the Jedi Order, becoming the first Mandalorian to do so. And according to legend, Vizsla created the dark saber during his time as a Jedi. So, if they're not headed in that direction, I'm a monkey's uncle.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense. Otherwise, they have to explain. For those of us who've never seen a black saber,
right?
Like, you would think that they'd kind of give us a hint.
Yeah, I think he'll join or he'll volunteer to become a Jedi, but maybe season 3 will be Pursuit of the Darksaber.
Now, I did see something too, that theories already, so I'm going to say tinfoil hat theory, not mine, found it online, that is Boba Fett we seen at the very end, and that he's gathering information because Boba Fett was always one to strictly deal with money. He's still a bounty hunter, and technically there's still a bounty on the child. We know that there's a certain somebody with a dark saber who really wants that baby.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, that's interesting. Yeah, Moff Gideon might get what he wants.
Yep.
And something I found, just random, that the doctor that was in the first season, who was with the benefactor who wanted the baby originally, was wearing clothes similar to those of the cloners.
Yep.
Which went right past me. I get so into the moment, like I'm not noticing the little details. And so everybody who finds all these little details, kudos to you, because I didn't catch that at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what if?
That's okay. They watch it 6 times.
Yeah.
I must. I just finished The Haunting of Bly Manor. And in the first episode, I must have missed one particular ghost a dozen times. Everyone else, oh, you see that ghost? No.
Yeah, I was rewinding that a lot, going, it's right there. But anyway, now that I've thrown all of those questions out to you and everyone in the known universe, are there anything that you guys have seen that kind of makes you scratch your head and go, maybe?
Well, Cobb Vance's speeder sure looked like it had one of the engines of Anakin Skywalker's pod racer in Phantom
Yeah,
Menace.
I thought that too. I'm like,
that
hey,
thing's
wow.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff on Tatooine. They keep passing everything around, I guess.
You know,
Exactly.
Like all the pieces. Yeah.
dust, bones, and bars.
Yeah.
Weird, fizzy black pumpkin things. Yeah. It's like,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
I know.
That's
I'm not
weird.
drinking that.
You take our water. I'm like, ooh, this is like a political thing right now. Sand people are going to be pissed. I thought it was interesting that Mando knew how to speak to the sand people.
Yep.
And I'm like, how exactly do you learn that? That's
I was
what I
about
was
to do
wondering.
my imitation, but no.
No.
No, that sounds like Chewy.
Sounded like a lot of indigestion and, trying to clear your throat. But hey,
Well, do we want to get into ratings?
Sure.
out of 5, let's say five crusts, I will give this one a 4 because it left a lot of questions for me, but it was still really good.
Okay. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 exploding dragon.
Ooh.
That's a lot. That's a lot of dragons, is all I'm saying.
Mine kind of ties in with yours, Dave. I give it like 3.5 to 4 goose-stained armor. You notice stuff was dripping off Mando at the end there.
So gross. Like Slimer was around.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some feedback from our friend Fred from the Netherlands. So let's hear what he has to say about this episode.
Hello, Steve, Dave, and Shawn, and all listeners to the Fangirl Zone. This is Fred from the Netherlands with some feedback for The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Wow, I really enjoyed this episode a lot. High quality, very nice cinematography, nice music, and really on movie level, I would say. Actually, I'm more a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan, but I have a lot of trouble to say that I like Discovery better than this. This is really very nice. Very nice that we see here that the Mandalorian knows his ways with the Sand People. And we learn some extra stuff about their background and their way of life. 2 opposing groups joining together to fight a big other bad is, of course, a little bit a trope. I'm very happy that you don't record your podcast immediately after the episode has aired, because otherwise I couldn't give feedback in time. And especially because of simultaneously being aired Discovery, His Dark Materials, next, and I do a podcast about Stargate SG-1. A little nitpick is when the Krayt Dragon is coming to Mos Pelgos that these windmills are going to turn. He is subterranean moving, and why is there suddenly more wind? Even if we see one of these transport animals, we don't even see his hairs move by wind. So these windmills turning is ominous, but not in any way explainable. Or it's the other way around. It are not windmills, but just signal posts for subterranean movement. But then it's a little illogical that the blades of that thing are positioned as they are. They really have a position like they have to catch wind. And one other nitpick is when the Mandalorian is arriving in Mos Pelgo, he leaves the child on his speeder bike. And when you see the people of that village, they are not all looking equally trustworthy. And one last thing, I had expected that the powers of the child would have been needed in some way to defeat the Krayt Dragon. Furthermore, very nice episode. That was all for now. Greetings, all the best, Fred from the Netherlands.
Yeah, Fred.
You know what? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shawn.
I was going to say, I totally agree with Fred. Like, I did not realize with the windmill that,
Right.
yeah, it's underground. So it's little things like that. And I'm like, well, maybe there was like a tunnel and it like created the wind underneath. But yeah, it's kind of weird
it was
that
weird.
they had.
I thought it was vibration. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. But it was an awesome shot. I mean,
Yeah.
I loved the shot. But yeah, it was a little difficult to explain. And yeah, Fred, it was definitely nice to get some background on the Tuscans, and basically they humanized them in this episode, which was great to see. I don't think anybody will look at them as the all-out raiders that when we first saw them, that's what we thought they were. So
yeah,
that was pretty awesome.
If you go on Google, you can Google what they look like without their mask. They're not monsters.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know that.
Almost, I always thought it was kind of like their face.
No, I don't know what explains that wrapping or whatever's on the outside instead of, having to deal with the desert.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I also agree with leaving the child because he did that. I swear to God.
Jason where he goes, I go.
Right. And Jason and I are both like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'll leave him in a satchel.
I noticed that.
Out real quick.
Yeah. I noticed on the speeder bike, at one time he's on one side of the satchel and the other time he's on the other side of the bike. I'm like, well, pick one side. I thought they made a mistake. I thought that was a goof when they saw him zoom away and he's all of a sudden on the left. And then when the bike pulls up somewhere, he's back on the right. And like, what they do? Take a bathroom break?
Maybe he's floating back and forth
outside the bag and kind of leaning into the wind
with the ears flapping.
So cute. That was so cute.
I'm like, the eyes even got a little bigger. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is our dog.
Yes.
Like she totally acted like that the same day. So yeah, I agree. And then yes, the production value of this one was really amazing.
Yes,
fantastic.
Actually was.
Cinematic quality.
And all our listeners, you need to send your thoughts and prayers and such to Fred and his family, as his 17-year-old son has brought COVID-19 into his home, and Fred is at high risk.
Oh, God.
Yes, so let's hope Fred continues his vigilance at keeping things clean and his distance from his kids.
Yeah.
And hopefully his son will have a very quick and painless recovery, and Fred won't get it. So
yeah, we're thinking of you, Fred.
Thoughts are with you, man.
Yeah.
Hope everyone gets better soon, Fred.
Yes. Want to do reviews, Dave?
All right. So everyone, please review and rate us on iTunes and any other platform you use for your podcast. With good ratings and reviews, it helps other fans of the show to find us. And there are plenty of other Mandalorian podcasts out there. Tell your friends, and I hope you're enjoying our podcast. And don't forget to check out the other great Fangirl Zone podcasts.
And you'll be able to check everything out. You can go to www.fangirlzone.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr, which I still, all these years, have not figured out. And basically everywhere you find podcasts. So it's easier to go over because we did not put everything exactly the same. So check out the website and our contacts page. So much easier that way. Otherwise, just shoot us emails. So much better that way. That way you can find us. And it's contact us at fangirlzone.com. Easy peasy.
So for this episode of the Mudhorn Clancast, I'm Steve. I guess every once in a while, both sun shines on a womp rat's tail.
I'm Shawn, Fangirl S. You really want to do this in front of the kid?
And this is Beskar Dave. Never take off the helmet unless it's to have a drink with Timothy Oliphant.